everyone. Welcome to the October 2018 Steering Legislative, Governmental Committee meeting for Rutherford County. At this time, I will ask for an approval of the minutes from September, and I will call on Commissioner Robert Stevens for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I read the minutes, and I would make a motion that we approve them as they were presented.
Thank you. There's proper motion, proper second from Commissioner Reed. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We're going to shift around the agenda to a little bit. I'm going to move up 6, 7, and 8. So we're going to announce 3 vacancies on the Agriculture Committee. One for farmwoman, one for a farmer, and one also for a commissioner. Steering needs to also announce a vacancy on the Community Care Board, and Steering would like to also announce the county coroner vacancy as well. And with that, then we're going to move to agenda item number 2. At this time, commissioners, you'll find on your iPad that there are vacancies for the Audit Committee. We actually have 2 commissioners that have applied for that. Commissioner Robert Stevens and Commissioner Joe Gurley from the 9th District have applied. As it says, there's only 2 openings on there, so at this time, Commissioner Stevens, unless you wanted to address the committee, we will move forward with taking a recommendation from the Steering Committee.
Mr. Chairman, since these are the 2 that have applied, I just move that we accept these 2 and accept them by acclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. There's a proper motion. Is there a proper second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Cush. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. We will move that forward to our October 11th, not the 13th, October 11th meeting at 6 p.m. Thank you. Item number 3 on your agenda, Commissioners, is to fill a commissioner vacancy on the Records Commission. On this one as well, we only received, there was one application from Commissioner Rather. He is not able to attend tonight, but he did submit his application. If you need a chance to review that quickly, you can. His name was the only one from the commissioners that had submitted. So at this time, I'll open the floor for a motion on Commissioner Rather.
I move that we accept and recommend Michael Rather as the commissioner on the Records Commission.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. There's proper motion, proper second
Second here.
from Commissioner Cush. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. You also see on your agenda, Commissioners, for agenda item number 4 that there is, we need to fill a vacancy on the Board of Zoning Appeals. There are 2 applications on there. Mr. Joe Machado and Leslie Smith Jr. Have both applied. Leslie's here in the audience, I think. There he is. Is Joe here? Joe, I'm sorry, I did not recognize you. I apologize. What we'd like to do for both of you, if you just want to take 2 or 3 minutes to stand up and maybe address the committee, kind of talk to your background and why you're interested in serving that, Mr. Machado. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I want to make
Sure
sure I
did.
get that right. We'll give you 2 or 3 minutes to introduce yourself to the committee.
My name is Joe Machado. I'm a lifelong resident of Rutherford County. 27 years at Nissan. Worked in maintenance there, retired. Been retired, and I'm trying to get back to the community. I've served for the past 11 years on BZA, and I'd like for reappointment.
Thank you.
Anybody got any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Machado there? Thank you. Mr. Smith, would you like to address the committee as well?
Yes, my name is Leslie Smith. I'm a 31-year resident of Rutherford County. I serve on the Beer Board presently. As you notice, I'm up tonight for a reappointment. I'm also on the BBA. This is about my 3rd time to apply. The other 2 times was not against there was somebody looking for a reappointment. And with the new people there, I can understand why somebody looking to be reappointed to the committee would be probably the better way to go. I almost pulled my name, but I didn't do it because I wanted to emphasize to this group how much I'd really like to serve on the BZA. And that's kind of it.
Sure. Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Smith? At this time, I'll entertain a motion from the committee on moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, there are 2, right? 2
Yes, sir.
positions open for BZA.
Correct.
I would make a motion to
Actually, I'm sorry, Commissioner Cush, there's 1. There's 2 applicants. I apologize.
Oh, I'm
There's
sorry.
1 position, 2 applicants.
All right, okay. All right, then I'm gonna shut up.
I don't want you doing that the whole meeting, but I understand.
I'll move that we nominate both candidates and each commissioner votes for one.
Thank you. There's proper motions. There's a second.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Reed. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Ms. Scarlett, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Kush,
I'm gonna cast a vote for Joe Machado.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Joe Machado.
Commissioner Reed,
Joe Machado.
Commissioner Stevens,
Mashodo.
Commissioner Turner.
Machado. Thank you. So, Mr. Machado, congratulations again. Your name will be brought before the full commission next Thursday night at 6 p.m. So thank you. Mr. Smith, thank you for applying for that position. On to the next portion of our business is the fill 2 vacancies on the beer board. You will find, commissioners, on your iPad that there are actually 3 applications on there. One of those names actually withdrew this afternoon. You can remove Angela Ford's name from the application process, which would leave us with 2, Mr. Leslie Smith Jr., who you just heard from, and then Mr. Keith Bratcher. Mr. Smith, you're welcome to address the committee again. I know you've had about 30 seconds to take a deep breath if you'd like. No pressure.
Well,
Richard.
just to reiterate that I would like to continue to serve on the beer board. 8 months as a alternate, and then served for the last 2 months filling Mr. Barrett's position. And now his has expired, and now I'm applying for that position.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Smith around the beer board application? Mr. Bratcher, welcome. Would you like to address the committee?
Yes, I served on the beer board. This is the first board I ever got on. I've served on this board for 24 years. So I'm just asking for appointment. I enjoy serving on it. So it's the first one I've been on. I've kind of stuck with it. So.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Bratcher? All right, this time we'll entertain a motion from the committee. There are 2 openings.
Mr. Chairman, we have 2 applicants and we have 2 vacancies. I move that we accept both these applicants and appoint them by acclamation.
Thank you, Commissioner Reed. Is there a second? Second from Commissioner McAdoo. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Keith, and thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll move forward with your process on the 11th at 6 o'clock p.m. at the next commission meeting. So thank you for volunteering and putting in your application. We're going to move this around a little bit because we do have some discussion. So on your iPad 2, commissioners, you'll see that there's a litigation list. Commissioner Reed, Commissioner Kush, I think last month, just to bring you up to speed, we talked about this. This is information purposes only that we asked the county attorney to provide for our committee and for the commissioners to be able to understand what's going on with lawsuits in the county and what's been closed and what's still active. That's for information purposes only, but they are on your iPad available if you need to review them. At this time, I'm going to ask Mayor Ketron and anyone else that he would like to bring with him to approach the table a conversation around in-house legal counsel. Sure. Ketron, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for letting me address you. I know, Commissioner Stevens, you had some concern last week of why that was actually on the agenda for property management. Let me explain that. I think I did to you, Mr. Chairman. One of the, I think Mayor Burgess left stacks for me. He called them loose ends. One of the loose ends was you need to address this issue with our current in-house attorney because he signed a contract that runs out, I believe, this is run out June 1? June 30? Runs out June 30, okay? So I'm looking for direction, and because of Chairman McAdoo's committee met before steering committee just last week, and we were taking a tour of the judicial building, I needed to at least slow down the process before it got kicked to the PBA to start the ball rolling on repurposing that building. I need to know direction from this committee, which they did. Commissioner McAdoo and his property management committee took that under advisement, and we're not doing anything. But I need to know, what does the commission, the full county commission, want to do? give me direction to sit down and start talking with Mr. McCreary, which he indicated that he would. However, we may not be able to come to terms. So that means if he chooses not to go forward and finishes after the end of his term, July 30, I need to make a decision to start negotiating to bring council inside no later than December. It's going to take me longer than probably 6 months just to assemble that. If we do that, where am I going to put them? Which goes back to the Property Management Committee. I need space in which to put that. So I'm looking for direction. He may accept it and say, yes, I want to do it. If we come to terms, then it's no big deal. We just keep rolling. But that was the reason for I need direction. The Commission's been kicking this around for a number of years. I would like to have some clear direction now with this new commission. What do you want to do?
When was the last time you had a conversation with Josh around that?
Week before last.
So very recent, and yeah, that, as Commissioner McAdoo chairs the property management, this did come up quickly, and Mayor Ketron addressed it the same way that he did with us. It would always start with steering and then move to the full commission if that's the wishes of this committee on what we
My
want
purpose
to do.
was to slow down the
Correct.
process of going
With the building.
you know, because we need to make some decisions
Yeah.
there as well. What are we going to do with the space? You know, on repurposing the judicial building.
Any comments? Questions?
Yeah, outside litigation is already contracted for 4 years.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think this came up, wasn't there an out clause for up to 6 months or something with in-house, if I remember right? I'm trying to remember exactly how that was.
We have to give our notice of
That's what it
intent by
was,
the end of
thank
the
you.
year, basically what we're going to do, and
That's what
that'll
it
be here
was.
before we know it.
Right,
So,
yeah, so we've got, really, we don't even have 2 months to try to make a decision on what we want to do. And I don't want to speak for the mayor, I don't know if he's advocating for or against, I think it's just more of, we got to help him make a decision around what does the commission want to do as a body, because, you know, we
I asked
work with
Lisa to
y'all.
come tonight. Lisa is prepared to come, and I think she asked her to put together some numbers of what we think that it would cost to go inside if we bring it in-house, and what we're paying currently if
Yeah, come on up, Lisa, yeah.
suspend the rules and let her come forward and talk.
I'll walk you through. I need you on your iPad. I don't mind.
They're enough for Commissioner Allen, too.
Oh, absolutely.
Joe.
Okay. So I'm just going to start with this top copy.
We need some more.
Oh, you need one too. Sorry.
How many do you have?
I got 12.
They're just enough. Good disciples were 12, too.
Okay, so this is just trying to get an idea of what we would need for in-house. So county attorney, that number is the same as what we pay, what the sheriff is. It is between Murfreesboro's county attorney and Smyrna's attorney, so it's a ballpark. An assistant attorney, a legal assistant, which we already have in place, and an administrative assistant. So all that with benefits totals $410,000. Estimating $100,000 in related cost, and that's, Commissioner Simmons, you know about what it would take to
law offices have very high overhead.
Law office, yeah. So, and then I put in a number for outside expertise, because there are some situations that the attorneys, even now, seek outside help for those things that are, for instance, would be, we used for software contracts. So this second page is more information than you then you want to know, but,
Go back to the first page. What's the total ambulance?
oh, I'm
fund?
sorry, they didn't get that done. Sorry, that's, yeah, just
Was that?
total. It's nothing.
Scratch that out.
Scratch it out.
Oh.
I didn't get that. You can tell which one I used as my source to pull this together. Yeah.
That was your clone.
There's my clone. I didn't get all the things changed on that. So on the second page, this is kind of, I guess I did this more or less for new commissioners, and kind of understanding where do all our legal expenses come from. Anything with litigation, y'all understand that is separate from this in-house that we're talking about, that is a separate piece. But this top part is information. On the left side is our county attorney. On the right side is total legal. It includes the numbers on the left side. Okay? So this first part is what we pay through our Fund 263, which is our property casualty fund. And schools, highway, and county all fund money into it to take care of claims. The next section, again, this is not what we're talking about in-house, but it is another place where we pay money out, and that is the delinquent tax attorney. That is chosen by the county trustee. He names that one.
So it looks like it really dropped between 16-17 and 17-18.
Yes, it did, and I have a note, kind of what was going on.
That was
in
with our
16,
prior
17.
sheriff.
There was a lot of sheriff issue litigations that was happening
Okay.
in the 16-17 year.
So we had a good year last year, but we just got the first notice of Candy Crush litigation, so
Well.
if we can prepare for that.
And it'll come through here. So, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Now we're into this third section is what I was looking at. What is being paid through the county, that these expenses might be comparable to what, and the things that what our county attorney in-house would handle. And one is the current budget of what we spent for the county attorney budget in the general fund. The next place that we pay legal fees out is, there's a line item in the county mayor's budget for legal services. And then you see the third 10,000 for 2 years. That was that GIS. I think that had to do with a patent maybe, or it was software. Can't remember. And then the last line is the attorneys we pay attorney fees whenever we do bond issues. We pay our bond counsel, and then our county attorney has to submit information, letters, and assurances on his part. So estimating and looking what we paid in 16-17, in total, both sides, total legal for those things is $459,000. Third page is just a picture of the things that we paid through the property casualty. The numbers are reflective on the second page. So I'm looking at, if you look at it in that respect, setting up, and again, these are estimates. So I'm estimating 600,000 for outside. No, that does not include if there was rent or those things that would need to be paid.
You were at 500,000, what you shared with me last week.
I did, and
Where'd the additional come
I
from?
talked to Josh.
Talk to Josh.
Yes, I did, to say, what will,
Okay.
he thought my office costs were too low.
Well, Mr. Chairman, free to answer questions or ask questions, Lisa. I would say take it under advisement, come back to me about your next steering committee. I need to know before you go to full commission, and then the same explanation need to be given for a vote. What I'd like to see done by the full commission. give me time to talk to Josh after he gets back off vacation. He's on vacation this week.
Right. A couple things, Lisa. Would commissioners need to email you or email the mayor if they've got questions about?
Oh, you're
Just
welcome to call me.
email you or call you directly.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions I had was, when was the last time we did an audit, or like who audits the county attorney's work to say, if they spent 50 hours on this, knowing that they actually should have spent 50 hours instead of 30 hours? Do we have a legal audit team that does that, or how do we audit that?
We don't.
Okay, so
we
we
don't.
get, not that we guess, but I wonder if there's value in maybe considering looking into that to
That-
say, are we making sure we're getting enough bang for our buck? It has nothing to do with Josh, remove the people and look at the process, figure out, are we getting it, because we're
And
already.
that is more to this litigation part of
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
it's piecemeal. That's not the right word. What is it? Commissioner Stevens, how you bill? Hourly.
Yeah.
Incremental time is how those are.
Sure.
But that's not how we handle
Yeah,
the other piece
Okay.
that would relate to this.
okay. That puts us at a 30-day mark to try to get questions, because we need to have a recommendation in 30 days. And so I want to make sure that the commissioners not present have the opportunity to ask those questions and feel comfortable. Can you come back next month?
Oh,
They
absolutely.
can make sure you're here for that.
Absolutely. I would just,
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Reed, yes, sir.
You know, I think the last time that we did this, whatever, I wasn't here, because it was prior to 14, I think, when we all went through all of this before. But is it not the responsibility of the commission to negotiate, if we negotiate with Josh McQuarrie, that it is not the commission's responsibility to do that negotiation?
Well, I think the commission has a heavy voice in that. I think last time,
Well, the attorney works for the commission.
Right,
For the mayor,
and-
so
right.
we did most of the negotiating and question asking.
That's what I'm
correct,
saying.
the mayor had a heavy part in that, but the commission, that's, the attorney worked for the commission. We want to obviously partner with the mayor too in that, but you're
The mayor would
correct.
bring to
You're
the
exactly
table, and
right.
The commission would.
The commission would, that's exactly
I'm
right.
just trying to get the
Yeah,
process of
Right.
where
I
we
think
gotta go.
that's what happened is that the county mayor, well, at that time you had two other
I
attorneys.
think Josh worked directly
Josh worked
with our committee
He
to
did.
come up with the terms of his
That's
contract.
Yeah.
right.
We had a
That's right,
meeting.
Krusty, too.
So you're right, and that's where all the questions came. So next month, we could obviously, if he needs to be here, we could ask him to be here too, to say, here's what we're thinking. And I know he's interested in the mayor's point of continuing to serve. I think we've had a good relationship with Josh. Again, this is not a Josh McCreary issue, it's a tax dollar issue, and what do we want to do as a body?
Well, I mean, the reason I'm saying this, we've got commissioners that are not here. We've
Sure.
got probably other commissioners out there too wanting to ask questions. And I don't want to place the mayor in a position where what he's got to do.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just what I was asking.
Sure, yeah. No, all good points. We would be the ones that would own that negotiation and come to an agreement, or not come to an agreement, and make a decision that we want to go a different direction.
Maybe I should clarify, my discussion with him is I feel my position is to sit down and talk with him. His feelings were hurt. He got beat up as before I got here, okay? So he got beat up pretty bad. And so for me to sit down and just to see what the temperature is before he comes and let you all renegotiate his
Right.
contract. But I think it's important that we get, whatever the commission decides to do, we get this done before January. If he says, no, I'm out of here, I've just, woke up one morning and said, I don't want to do government anymore, I'm out of here, then where are we? We have 6 months to assemble something. Sure.
Something else we could do is put it out for bid and see what kind of people or firms like,
Would be
see
interested.
what they would offer us or what they could do, and if they could beat this price. But we don't necessarily have to go with the lowest bidder. We, you can also consider skill and
It's another
experience.
recommendation. Be happy to do that.
The idea of creating a new bureaucracy scares me. I'm just not sure that it's to be 2 lawyers this year and 3 or 4 for next year, and before you know it, we'll be like Davidson County and have 30 or 35 lawyers
Sure.
on staff, and just never have enough money. And Personally, I think we've got a good attorney that works well with us.
I'm
and
not
I
saying
think we
that at all.
Get a really good value for our funds, but that's just my thinking.
Is that a recommendation to
I
put
think
it
we're
out?
gonna
or
wait till
just
next month when we
conversation?
have our
Okay.
full committee here and let
Yeah.
everybody else look at all the numbers and things before we
Okay.
make a decision.
Sure.
And then that recommendation will come to steering before the full commission, and I would like for them to have this as well. We can send this information out that Ms. Nolan is prepared to all the commissioners, because this is a big deal. You know, how we're gonna handle, you know, for the next however long the commission decides to sign the contract with, or how we're gonna handle it.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I
sir,
got one
Commissioner
question.
McAdoo.
This in-house attorney, will he be just handling the county, or will he be handling the county, the sheriff department, other departments, especially the sheriff department? And I got a reason for asking that, because in the past, you know, we have run into litigation against the sheriff department. So I need to know upfront, this in-house attorney, what is his job description gonna be? Is it gonna be the sheriff department or whatever? So I need to know
Well,
that.
I think our current attorney is currently handling things at the sheriff's department, right? He's prepared to, I mean, we haven't been served on Candy Crush yet, but it's coming. News media told us that, so, you know, I think the other parties named in that lawsuit, but we haven't. And of course, he's on vacation, but yeah, we will have to respond to that, along with our insurance company.
Commissioner Kush.
Lisa, I have a question, and I'm trying to find it in this abbreviated set of numbers here, and so help me along. The Hudson Reed McCrary portion, and we can pick this 2017, 2018 year. The total dollars we spent with them was what?
All three of those,
The-
over $1 million. You'd have to add all three of those.
For-
The 673, the 114, and the 316.
Okay. And that included even the trial time when they went to trial and managed trial for us, right?
Yes.
Okay. I guess the part I'm having a hard time understanding, and Robert, you might be able to help me understand. If we had on-staff attorneys, would they have the expertise to go to trial for us like Josh does now, or would we have to then sub out to another attorney to fight the battle in the courtroom?
Well, I think if you bring in, first off, this contract is two parts. You've got the in-house
In-house
matters,
Right.
which
And
is
the
the
out-of-house.
265,000 or 263,000.
Right.
Then you've also got the litigation piece of it.
Right.
So if we bring, what she had estimated was a lawyer, like the main attorney, and then an assistant.
Yes.
To handle all the routine day-to-day things, and that's, probably what you'd need for that.
Right.
But if you bring in the litigation as well,
Yeah.
you're gonna need 3 or 4 more attorneys to handle all the lawsuits.
Right.
And just because you've got 4 or 5 attorneys in your office doesn't mean that they're gonna be qualified to handle an XYZ type of case. It might be something that they can't handle, and then you gotta hire another firm to do that for you. So I would think if you've got 4 or 5 people on staff, that they could probably work through most types of lawsuits. But, we had a few years ago a thing with some software that was very complex, and we had to hire a law firm in Philadelphia or somewhere up north to handle that. So there's always the potential for an issue being too complex for the office.
Okay. All right, let me ask one other question. This estimated salary for a county attorney, you know the business better than anybody in this room. Is that salary one that would entertain somebody that has the qualifications to fight a fight in the courtroom?
Just to do the in-house routine matters, that's probably, in the ballpark, but if you have somebody that's gonna be responsible for doing all of that, plus handling litigation, that's not gonna be enough to get somebody that's really qualified. We don't want somebody with 3 years of experience out of school
That's what
running our
concerns,
law.
yeah, that's what concerns me.
But for the in-house routine matters, that would
Right.
probably be a fair amount for somebody.
Commissioner Kush, I think Mayor Ketron had some extension of that conversation too.
Yeah, I'm not laying my marker down on either one of them. That's the commission's decision, you know. But I just want the commission to look at the whole bigger picture, because the contract, as stated previously, the contract for outside counsel doesn't end for 4 years. So that's another law firm that's in Nashville, okay? So hypothetically, if we get to the end of 4 years, could that, what we're paying that outside law firm on another contract, come in-house also? So you need to look at the total picture. What I'm just saying, what could be done? You know, could you take what we're paying for, you know, of course, the trustee, he handles working with Roger in that same law firm that we currently work with. It's his decision what attorney to use, which is Mr. Hudson, Roger Hudson. But is that in totality, could that be brought in also by talking with the trustee? Just look at the bigger picture of everything you spend legally.
Right.
All I'm saying is.
Sure. But if I'm Josh, I'm also going to be more willing to sit down and chat with you if I have a chance down the road at a piece of the whole apple, not
Sure.
just
Sure.
the in-house counsel part.
Sure. Commissioner Reed, did you raise your hand? I'm sorry. Thought I
No.
missed you. Okay.
No, well, since you've already recognized it. But I was sitting here going through all the litigation that we have right here on this iPad right now, and we got, like you said there, where we are, and the same as Commissioner Stevens right here, when we start thinking about starting over again. It does bother me, but we all need to do what's best for the county and where we need to go from there. I think what we need to be looking at right now, I think the contact needs to be made to Mr. McQuarrie to see what his options are, what he wants to do. I mean, we could sit here and talk all night about in-house or not. If we don't know what he's wanting to do, where he wants to go, and let him bring something to the table and where we want to go from there, we don't have that answer right now. And when you bring it down to the point where we only have so many months to do something, you know, we're going to have to do something. So I think what this committee needs to be doing this time is make that contact or figure out how we're going to do that
Almost ask him to bring an offer.
and bring something to the table and bring our questions to ask and see where we go from there.
Yeah, since you're all not here every day, as soon as he gets back from vacation, let me call him over, sit down and talk to him and say, are you willing to negotiate with the commission? And if so, then where are we? Be prepared to answer those questions, you know. What kind of rate are you going to charge us? Are you going to charge us double what you're charging now? I know that his rate is much cheaper than what we were paying Mr. Cope. You know, we just need clarity in what his charges and fees are going to be before we sign a contract.
Make sure we get our questions into Ms. Nolan too before
Or
the mayor.
Hedren.
Yeah. Any other comments or discussions or motions if any commissioner sees the need? Yeah. All right.
Do we need a form of action or
It's,
whatever?
I'll defer to the committee on that. My takeaway was the mayor was just gonna have Josh come over and have a conversation about, are you still interested? And if so, what does that look like? And then the committee rather, gets questions together, other commissioners too, can send them into the mayor, Lisa, and then we need to make a decision next month as a steering body.
You know, I'll say one more thing, and I know I'm supposed to wait for others to say something,
No,
but
it's okay.
But I just know whenever we do some things, when we come in-house or whatever, they seem to have the tendency to grow. I come from an organization that, we were just talking here a while ago, I remember when we started out, at one time, like with an IT department, whatever, IT continues to grow because of the progress that we do there. And you know, you create some things where if you're not careful, what looks good now, down the road, it may not be what we had thought it to be.
Sure.
So I think we just have to be careful in what we do and where we go from here. Josh McCrary and the dealings that I've had with Mr. Berry here as on the county commission, I've been real pleased in what he's done.
Any other last thoughts? Ms. Nolan, thank you. If we can make sure to get to Mayor Ketcherd's point, the commissioners can get emailed the
Okay.
cost analysis
Will
there,
do.
that would be
I'll
good.
fix this last one, thank you.
Perfect, yeah, that's okay. Thank you. Next on the agenda, item 10, Mayor Ketcherd also wanted to have a conversation or bring some information forward about a county logo conversation. So Mayor, I'll turn that over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, before I got elected, you start thinking about, you know, from the time I was elected up until the time I was sworn in, you start thinking about, okay, how, and looking at all facets like our landfill, Chairman Kush, how do we do things and bring the whole county together? I started looking and going through my mind of we got to start doing things together, just like I'm going to start implementing at least a quarterly meeting with all the mayors. I've talked to Mayor Reed in Smyrna, I've talked to Mayor McFarland, Murfreesboro. They all think it's a good idea because we've all been operating, as much as our town and community and city, the county's growing, we're operating in different silos, but there's so much overlapping from planning to roads to education, everything. And the two mayors I talked to were definitely in favor of meeting quarterly, so we start that talk. The other two, I didn't bother because they're in the middle of an election. I didn't think it'd be appropriate for Laverne and Eagleville at this point, but we can reach out to them after the November election to find out who the new mayor is, and I'm sure they would be happy to do that. But if we go down the road of as we saw when we went to Sevierville, that maybe composting takes 65%, but it's going to be recycling for another 30% of what they're doing in Sevier County. Well, in order to get people countywide to be thinking, changing the thought process and the paradigm of recycling, you've got to bring the county together, all thinking together to make this the best county. And another way that came up to me was creating a new logo for the county. I know the one that we've had has been there for a long, long time. However, another way of doing that is creating a new logo, or at least giving the opportunity for this committee to reach out to all the art departments in every school, create a countywide competition, even through the art department at MTSU. Let them give some expertise. This is a new day. It's a new commission moving forward. And it's even a new century from the time that our logo has been there. I love history and I love to protect our history of the county, but at the same time, it gives a new identity to the commission. So I just wanted to throw that out. You may not like the idea at all and totally reject it, but I wanted to start with the steering committee to see if there was any thought processes in that. Everybody I've talked to thought it was a great idea on the streets.
Comments, questions?
Let's do it.
Is that a recommendation or just an acclamation?
I make a recommendation that we explore enter the schools, college, explore the opportunity of a new logo.
Motion from Commissioner Kush. Is there a second? Before we go to discussion.
Can I second it too?
I'm sorry, you can't. This motion dies for the lack of a second.
Yeah, I don't mind like soliciting feedback and getting ideas for logos or whatnot, but I just don't want to spend any money on it. What's it gonna take to change the logo on all of our documents? And
Well, we did that this past year. If you notice, every Governor Haslam came forward with a TN logo for all the commissioners, et cetera. There was some pushback because people just don't like change, okay? But every department in the state of Tennessee had a different logo, and you throw them up on the board, and corrections, TDOT, safety, everybody had a different logo, and when you go online, everybody was so confused, so they just went with a plain TN, you know, in the same colors as the flag. But the instruction was that if we do change the logo, that you don't change the cars until you run out. You don't change the stationery until you run out. You don't change anything until you run out of whatever supplies you have. Other communities in the past have made that mistake, and everybody, got reams and reams of printed paper with logo on it, so they tossed it so they could get new. No, you keep on using the same thing. If you noticed, I sent you a thank you letter for, on a note card. I just marked out the word senator and put mayor on it. You should have received that. I'm not wasteful, so don't mind doing that. As far as the cost is concerned, I don't think it's going to cost anything other than just letters from the mayor's office going out. The county commission would like to solicit anybody in Rutherford County, not just the schools, but anybody that would be interested in, that has artistic ability. We're a very artistic community, and anybody, can give them a free pizza or whatever you want to do, or just the picture in the paper that they designed the new logo that was decided upon. I think there would be competition with the kids. Some people that are in senior citizen homes, might be good artists. MTSU, I don't think it's going to cost anything to do that.
I'll say something.
Commissioner Reed?
The current logo we have right here is, like you said, Mayor, it's been here for a good while. It's what we see on our lapels, it's what we see on our cars, it's what we see on everything that relates to the county. And it depicts something I think that's quite important to us. I know people look at those two dates that are in there, the 1796 and the 1803, which depicts the becoming of a state, becoming of a county. And it's a recognizable logo that we currently have. And it also is a logo that now is on the county flag. I mean, we do have that embedded, I think, within that flag. But
This logo's not in the county flag.
I think this one is, isn't it?
No, sir, I just got one last week from Screen Art, because Mayor Allen had a commission, Mike Bickford,
Right.
and so he gave me one, and I said, nobody even knows what this is. And the
You're
reason I
right.
looked at that,
You're right.
I've had people go, what is that? And it's very busy with the artwork on it, so I was thinking that an opportunity for a cleaner looking logo to where people could actually see it instead of putting your bifocals on to look at it.
Well, but what I'm saying, this is a logo I don't know if we just completely do away with. I'm just not seeing that. I'm not saying you don't go out and come out with some type of promotion as far as the county is concerned. Everybody has some way of saying and promoting, but it's totally, as far as changing the logo right now, I'm just not seeing it. I'm sorry.
No, that's your
just
opinion.
my opinion.
That's your opinion? Yes, sir.
Is this current logo on the new judicial building?
Sure.
So we'd have to take that down, or,
Yes, sir. Why would you take it out?
well, if it's not the logo,
Well, it's part of our history. Why would you take it out? It's still part of our history. I'm not Ramses saying you strike everything with Moses' name on it. I'm just looking for a new identity and that this is the 21st century. Is there an opportunity? There may be 1,000 submissions, but it's brought people together within the county focusing on doing something. And then this committee and the full commission may say, we really like the one we got. I'm looking to bring our county together, and, this is just one way, so, that's up to this committee.
Any other comments, questions for the mayor? This is always something that could come back up if any commissioner reserves the right, or the mayor would want to come back up. We can discuss it again. Thank you, Mayor. Got the litigation list covered already. Under new business, Commissioner Cush did ask if he could address the committee, so Commissioner Cush.
Thank you,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman. If the commissioners will recall, I think it was in the August full commission meeting when we were chatting about the fireworks ordinance again. the full commission suggested that we wrap that with the noise ordinance and that go back to the Public Works Planning Commission. Let me rephrase. That go back to steering, and that steering would recommend that go back to Public Works and Planning. So I'm making that recommendation that steering make a formal request that the fireworks / noise ordinance come back to Public Works and Planning for revisions, so we can make time and effort to put that together. So just asking it to be in writing.
That's a motion,
That it come, yeah, that it come from, that steering recognize the full commission's wishes, and that it come back to my committee.
Sure. As the proper motion from Commissioner Coach, is there a second? Send that to Public Works. That was a floor conversation with the
I
commission
thought we
about.
sent it to Public Works.
No, I think I thought we said it was going to go back to steering, and the steering was going to recommend the
Yeah.
direction from the steering committee. I could be wrong,
That's
but that
how
was the
it
way that I remember.
That's how it was proposed at full commission.
Either one, I guess we can do either one. We just want to make sure it gets back to Public Works. So if it doesn't have to come from steering, it's still going to be on Public Works agenda
It's
conversation
on our
anyway.
plate, but the way it was worded, it was supposed to go to steering, and then steering was supposed to tell us to do it.
Well, I'll second.
Yeah, second. It's probably in the formality here because
It is.
any discussion, Commissioner McAdoo?
Yes. My understanding that night, not only did we discuss public works, we also discussed public safety. Public safety was a big holdup that night because if we do anything, how would they take care of it? If I remember correctly. So why would we send it to public works without sending it to public safety also?
Well, and maybe Public Works would recommend it because I thought the Public Works discussion came around the codes portion of it, of getting it into a formal document, and then
Right.
Public Works would always recommend to send it to Public Safety after that as far as an enforcement conversation.
The ordinance would recommend also enforcement, and we can certainly bring public safety. We've already chatted with the sheriff's department, and they've given us guidance, but to rehash that through public safety would not be a bad idea.
Any other discussion before we vote? All in favor of moving this to the Public Works Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other new business to come before the committee tonight?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Reed?
I just want to, this is, I guess, a point of question. I think since Chairman McAdoo of the Property Management, back in May, there was a motion made as far as the county would be taking the ballpark from Milton, taking possession of that from the state. Has anything occurred with that? Have you heard from the state on that, or Mayor, have you heard from that?
I have. Matter of fact, our county historian came by today and asked that same question. Just want to know what happened, how it fell through the cracks, etc. Vicki, before she left on vacation, said that the state had dropped the ball. So
Drop the ball in the ballpark.
yeah, for the ballpark. It was a foul ball. But we should know something this next week. As far as transferring that property over to us, all it takes is TDOT. I think it was through transportation, TDOT to transfer that title over to the county.
In reference to property management, we passed it on to the county mayor.
Right, I'm sitting here looking at the minutes, and that's what you said, that it'll become a perpetuality of the green space over to Rutherford County.
Yeah, but I didn't know it at the time last week that TDOT had dropped the ball.
Glad to know. We've had some folks, it's getting ready to be a big celebration in Milton up there
Sure.
in the middle of October, and they're wanting to know about that, so.
Well, that'd be kind of nice if we could present the title of the property deed to them, right?
You can bring them a deed up there.
Sure, with the old logo on it.
Yeah. I think it's a great idea.
Any other business? Yes, Lisa?
I just had some information, about property management, and Mary Petra brought up centralized purchasing. So there are ways to centralize, but it's change of law that this committee would have to adopt. So I just wanted to submit, because we did it before when coming over these things when we were revising our own purchasing act, beefing up the conflict of interest piece of that, and we discussed these two other ways to centralize purchasing. So I just wanted to pass out. So
Sure.
If it comes up,
Yeah.
that y'all are prepared. There's Financial Management Act 57 and 1981.
Yeah, just so steering knows, if you did not get a chance to watch or review the property management notes, that Mayor Kepner did bring that forward as just part of a general discussion around purchasing, that I believe, Mayor Kepner, correct me if I'm wrong, there were some, you had reached out to the state to maybe give us some
Yeah.
conversation pieces around that.
That is correct. When we passed when I introduced and passed with the comptroller's help, the Procurement Act of 2010 with Charlie Curtis was my house sponsor. Many of you met him at Henry Horton, went down. He's now the chairman or director of the TCCA, Tennessee County Commission Association. When we passed that bill, it was the beginning of the new term with the current governor. We had been purchasing, every department had its own purchasing person, from TDOT to corrections to whatever, and many times we would have vendors who actually wrote the bid specs for each one of those departments, or they were related to someone. And when I travel out of state going to conferences like NCSL, et cetera, you go to a booth in their fair that they would have for all the vendors who would come in and say, oh, this is interesting. We've never seen this in Tennessee. Why don't you come there? And they'd say, oh, we're coming there. We can't do business in Tennessee. So that ended a lot of that by creating a procurement act, which centralized the purchasing. It's a whole lot cheaper to buy copy paper when you buy it by the train load as opposed to delivery of one or two. Right now we have different departments who buy copy paper at Sam's. We have some who buy it at Office Depot, or some at Staples. And I think you'll find that if you, as now the chief purchasing agent, see some of the things that are being purchased that I have to sign off on. It'd be a rude awakening of how things are actually purchased from our different departments. So I didn't put that on the agenda tonight, Lisa, because I withdrew, because I reached out to the comptroller. The comptroller had the director of procurement for the state of Tennessee, Mike Perry. Mike has volunteered to bring his crew down and meet with the appropriate people about ways of things that they can do. We can piggyback off of many of the contracts. We're doing that now on some contracts, but they have over 500 and something contracts with different vendors throughout the state that we can piggyback on, and how all that would come together. So I wouldn't even know how to start and create a procurement act. And
There's two general laws that creates a centralized purchasing. 57 only gets you the county government and highway. It does not include schools. 81 would include schools, highway, and county, but it does change structure.
Well, it does, and that's why as the General Assembly goes back into session in January, you have a bill cut off by February, so the commission, if we want to look at that. And what I've asked him to do, and I'm going to have this to the Finance Committee, get Mr. Perry and his group come and do a presentation to the Finance Committee.
And as Mayor Kedra said, when you say centralized, to me, centralized in one respect, it's all three divisions of us, highway, county, schools. The other centralized is, it's all within one department. Like for county mayor is our purchasing agent. All the requests for purchases comes to his office, and then his office makes the decision, yea or nay. So we are centralized under county.
Thank you, Lisa, for sharing this. And this is available to any commissioner too,
Oh,
if they're
yeah.
watching,
I mean,
we
a lot
can get
of
this
it-
to them
that's
anyways.
right. You know, like I said, we went through this, those that are on steering wheel, we're talking about changing our private act
Yeah.
to boost up conflict of interest. That's why you'll see some of that.
Yeah, we were,
here.
I think Commissioner McAdoo, Chairman McAdoo, we were talking about this back in 1990 when I got elected. We continued to get written up every year by the comptroller for not
Well,
participating.
it's really not a finding, it's a best practice.
Yeah.
It's not a finding.
Well, okay, so they're recommending every year
It's a-
to us in their audit report that
Yeah.
that best finding for.
Best practice.
Best practice for counties to participate.
And their reference is
Sure.
the 81 Act.
Okay.
So
All right,
that's why I
so,
want y'all to really
Yeah.
understand what 81
Sure.
does.
But that's where we have to change our structure.
It changes
yeah,
the structure.
and that would be done by request from the full commission to change the structure
Yeah.
through legislation. Many counties have gone to 81, but I think that you'll be enlightened when procurement can show you the advantages and the millions of dollars that could be saved through that process. Now, you're going to get pushback, okay? You're going to get pushback from a lot of different departments because everybody likes doing it and buying it the way they've always done it. Some people say the best politics is local, okay? Some departments like to buy from their local vendor. However, keep in mind, we're not a small county anymore. And when schools run $20 million more like Rockville to build than what we thought it was going to cost. We thought 58 came in at 72. Where are you going to make up the difference of that 20 million? It's like when I was in a convenience store, somebody drove off with $50 worth of gas. It took me a lot of Hershey bars to make up that loss of somebody just stole from me. So for the tremendous growth that we expect and seeing a school a year, I'm trying to change the thinking process. We're fixing to be, after this next census, we're going to be the 4th largest county in the state. We have to be thinking, we can't always continue doing the way we've always done it. We've got to be more refined, we've got to be sharper, we've got to save more dollars for the constituents. We can't worry about protection of turf of different departments. I'm sorry if I step on toes of different department heads, but I'm trying to get us to think that way. It's coming at us, and it's coming at us fast. The growth. And where can we maximize and save the most amount of dollars? I'm a fiscal hawk when it comes to somebody else's money.
I would hope we all would be.
I hope so.
That's why we're here. Any other new business or comments before we adjourn for the evening? We are adjourned. Thank you.